Gen Hope, what's up? Sebastian here, and I just want to welcome you to Valley Creek students. Even here online, we are a movement of hope for the city and beyond. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a look at this weekend's message. And if you haven't caught that yet, you can always click the link below in the description to catch up on what we've been talking about over this weekend. And if you're looking for ways to get connected, like, man, maybe you need prayer for anything, we would love the opportunity to pray for you, or you want to get connected in student circles, man, go ahead and click right here for all that information for Valley Creek students. But right now, can you go ahead, prepare your heart, because God has something great for you. So go ahead, lean in, because it's going to be amazing.
What's up, Valley Creek students, and welcome to Student Circles. We're in a series called Heart of a King, and we've been taking a look at the life of King David. He had a calling on his life, and so do you. Ephesians 4:1 tells us to live a life worthy of your calling. And instead of living down to the world, we get to live up to the kingdom. And even though all of us start out with the heart of a rebel, orphan, Pharisee, and slave, in Jesus, we receive the heart of a king. A heart that's not selfish, but selfless. A heart of royalty. Revelation 5:10 says that Jesus has made us priests and kings to reign on the earth. And even though that's true, it still requires a lot of faith to believe that you're a king if you're living like a rebel. But God's desire is for you to live with the heart of a king. And maybe we've had a wrong perspective about kings. So let's take some more time and talk about what it looks like to be a king. I want you to go ahead and write this down. Kings are on mission to see every person experience kingdom life. Kings are on mission. They want to see the righteousness of God in Jesus. They want to see restored identities, reconciled relationships, redeemed purpose. They want to see every area of life aligned with the kingdom of God. A king wants to destroy the works of the devil. Kings are on mission for every person to experience kingdom life. Everybody say mission. In Matthew 6:10, Jesus shows us what it's like to live like a king. In his prayer, he says, "Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." This is how kings live. This is how they think. It's how they dream. They dream that God's kingdom will come to every person. And what I love about King David is that he always lived on mission. Look at Acts 13:36. It says that David served the purpose of God in his own generation. In everything David did from the time that he was a student until he took his last breath, he was always on mission. How about John 18:37? Jesus was asked if he was a king, and his response was, "For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world." Kings know their purpose. And I think the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we know the purpose for which we were born? Are we serving God's purpose in our generation? Because in Genesis 1:28, we see that our created mandate, our purpose, is God's mission. It's what we were created for. And if you haven't caught this yet, this is a great time to take out your pen and write something important down. Here it is. Being a king isn't about ruling and reigning. It's about releasing the life of Jesus. Tonight, we're going to talk through 3 ways that kings live. So get ready to write these down. The first one is, kings know it's not about them. Everybody say, they know. 2 Samuel 5:12 shows us that David knew why he was king. That David knew it was for the sake of his people, Israel. The mission of God to redeem the earth, he knew. The same is true for you. Did you know the school you're in is not about you, but it's about the other people in your lives? The team that you play on, it's not about you, your glory, getting seen or known, but it's for the good of others and the glory of God. How about the class that you're in? Do you know that God has established you where you are for the sake of others? How about your social media? While the whole world is screaming, it's all about you, did you know it's actually for the good of others? You have been placed here for the sake of others. Whatever area of influence you find yourself in, it's for the sake of them. It's realizing I'm not here for my good and my glory, but I'm called to rise up and carry hope where God has placed me. Did Did you know that as a church during COVID, we gave 14,000 teachers personal gifts? We gave personal notes to hundreds of healthcare workers and civil servants. Did you know we gave more than 1,000 handwritten notes to police officers? And just this past weekend, many of you gave your time and resources for Hope on the Move, Thanksgiving groceries, so that families in our community will not go hungry during Thanksgiving. Because kings are on mission to see every person experience kingdom life. And I think the most dangerous place to be as a Christian is being a casual Christian. Like, you know the truth, you've trusted Jesus, but you're not living on mission with Jesus. You're not living this great adventure with him, so you're completely susceptible to any and all distractions from the enemy. In Matthew 28:19, one of the last things Jesus commands before he goes back to heaven was to go. Everybody say go. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations. Notice there's no disclaimer there like, unless you have to do school online, or unless you have to wear a face mask, or unless there's COVID, unless you don't like Zoom. Just go make disciples. Because a king knows it's not about them. And if you're tired and beat down in this season, it could be an indicator that you've checked out of the mission. Okay, get ready to write this down. The second way a king lives is that kings live attractive lives. 1 Samuel says, everyone who was in distress and everyone who was in debt and everyone who was bitter in soul gathered to him, and he became commander over them. These people were drawn to King David. They were drawn to royalty because a rebel heart is attracted to a royal heart. We see the exact same thing in the life of Jesus over and over again in the New Testament. And my question for you is, do the lost, lonely, and broken people like to be around you? Are their rebel hearts attracted to the royalty in you? Like, are there people in your life who maybe have different beliefs and views, but they're still attracted to the royalty they experience around you? Maybe their view on alternative lifestyles is very different than yours, but they're attracted to the royalty in your heart. Or maybe for some reason they like a sports team from a different state, but they're still drawn to the royalty in you. Or maybe they have an Android device and you have an iPhone because why wouldn't you? But they're still drawn to you because there's something different about the way that you live. Because the heart of a king is on mission to see every person experience kingdom life. Like, we should all be living in such a way that is attractive to those around us. In 1 Peter, we see that when we live with the heart of a king, it points people to Jesus. The whole heart of a king is about demonstrating the kingdom of God to the world around you. Not just telling people what you intellectually believe or think, but letting them experience it firsthand. Last thing is this, write this down. Kings use what they have for the good of others and the glory of God. We see this with David. He used his time, talent, and treasure for the good of others and the glory of God. Everyone say time. Talk about time and availability. David used his entire life from the time he's a student until his last breath for the mission of God. He gave all the time that he had. So how does your calendar look this week? Is the mission of God a priority? Or does time always seem to be the reason you can't be on mission? Everyone say talents. Talk about talents. Whatever season David was in, he used those talents for the mission of God. He was a shepherd, he was a warrior, he used diplomacy, he played a harp, he used his athletic and survival parkour abilities to outrun Saul. Parkour! Are you using all the talents you have for the good of others and the glory of God? Or are they mostly spent for your good and your glory? Everyone say treasure. David also gave his treasure. David gave all that he had to build the temple. How are you using your treasure? What is your treasure? And are you using it for the good of others and the glory of God? In 2 Samuel, a sad verse in the Bible, it shows us that Absalom never lived on mission with God. Instead, he set up monuments for himself. And I just wonder, how many of us are building and setting up monuments to ourselves? Like, later on, it would say that he's the most handsome man in the kingdom. And that might be a silly detail, but I just wonder like how that same vain pursuit is much like us on our social media today. We just set up so many of our own monuments for ourselves. And maybe an easier way to ask it is, what's the motive behind your social media platform? Like, what's the motive on the team that you play? What's the motive behind your GPA? What's the motive? Because there's nothing wrong with any of those activities in and of themselves, but it's the motive. And if it's not so that every person can experience the kingdom life, then you might be setting up a monument for yourself. Guys, we were created for mission. It's the greatest privilege of our lifetime. And if you're not excited about mission and that doesn't move you closer to the heart of the Father, then take a second and just remember what Jesus has already done for you. Remember, Jesus went on mission for your heart, and he's still on mission for your heart today, even right now. Gen Hope, it's time to rise up and use everything in our life for the mission of God. It's God's purpose for you in this generation to carry hope to the hopeless, so every person can experience kingdom life in Jesus. He showed us what kingdom life looked like. He gave his life so that we could have his divine spirit, and now he invites us to join him and bring others into this life with him. Because the heart of a king is to see everyone experience kingdom life. May Jesus stir up our hearts and give us a passion for the lost, lonely, and broken people in our lives, and help us to go on mission for their hearts.